Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Graph Tanker 98. I haven't done a show or movie review in a little bit. Um, so I just watched episode 1 of The Witcher on Netflix, and I'm not going to do spoilers at all. But I will give you my initial feelings and remarks on this show so far, because I was really excited about this show from when I first heard it. Um, first episode, there's a lot of setup going on here. So this is taking place for those of you. I never really read the books. I've played the games. I played the games since Witcher 1. So I'm assuming this takes place before that, I think they said. But it's more following the books than the games. Okay, so I guess as a disclaimer, from what I understand, this is following the books more than the games. So that's the universe. I'm down. I'm already in. I like it. So the overall story tone of the show, I like it. It starts off with action. There's a lot of dialogue and setup, and there is some what I want to say is there's some, not confusion, but there's just not clarity on who's what. And we know Geralt, we know what he is off the bat. They explain that. But then there's some stuff going on in this episode that I was just like, what's going on? Like there's really not a lot of backstory. So this is going to be one of those shows where we kind of have to watch it for a while. It gives me the same feeling of when you've watched episode 1 of Game of Thrones, you never read the books, you really don't know what's going on. So you just got to keep an open mind. There's a lot of talking and dialogue, which is fine because setup's fine. But when the action kicks off, the action's pretty good for a TV show. So I will give it that. So overall, I'm gonna give so far this episode, The Witcher, just from watching it. I give it a probably a 4 out of 5. 3 point. This for the fact that it's a lot of times the first early episodes of these series are not that good. So I'm gonna get. I mean, the acting good is a good. Some of the scaling was kind of bad. Like there was a large battle scene in this, and it just didn't give me that feel that it was a huge army of a nation. It did a little bit, but I get it. It's TV, low budget, so lower budgets. I think if this show succeeds, it'll be better in the future. So I'm gonna stick with it so far. My it's a 4 out of 5 for this first episode. Just the fact it loses a point due to the non-clarity of what's going on. If you watch it, you'll see what I mean. There's just kind of like there's some boring parts, and you're just kind of like trying to figure out who's who and what's going on. Like Geralt, we know who he is. We know he's Witcher. He uses monster blood and mutagens to basically he's a monster hunter for hire. He's a necessary evil that everybody hates, but people need him to do things, and we know that, to kill monsters. So that's not the hard part to understand. But I do want to like this show. So I'm gonna really kind of have to watch the whole thing, and then at the end of the season, I'm gonna do a mini review like this for each episode, and then I'll do an overall review at the end, and then we'll see how it goes. But so far, I like it. Overall, I didn't necessarily like some of the slower parts, but we have to understand in a show like this, it's gonna have setup. It's gonna have slow dialogue that build these characters. So I'm not too mad about it. So 4 out of 5 if you're into fantasy. If you are not into this kind of stuff, it's probably like a 3. If you're not into exploring new little worlds and fantasy and wizards and monsters. So, and this is a violent show. So that's what plussed it up for me, was the violence of it. So it did actually, it doesn't go You know how sometimes some of the times these shows and the games and the books, they're like, beheadings and blood and all that stuff. And then when they make it to a movie or show, they dumb it down and it's not as good. Well, this one seems pretty accurate so far. So we'll see if they have some. I'm curious to see how gruesome they go with some of these monsters because, in the games and the books and stuff, there's some really nasty stuff and cool stuff. So we'll see if they get to that route. And so far, they didn't really shy away from the grimness of this land. So stay tuned for more. If you like Game of Thrones, you're probably gonna like this show. So far, I was pretty upset with Game of Thrones, so I kind of like this better now. Just to the fact that it's Geralt. He's gonna whip some butt. So we'll see how it goes. All right, so stay tuned for more. We're gonna do a full breakdown on this. All right, thank you.